Title: Narcissistic Future SIL insulted my appearance, but my brother took a stand and called off the wedding. My entitled future sister-in-law said I wasn't attractive enough to be maid of honor at her wedding, so my brother called off the wedding. She got angry, ruined her life, and blamed us for everything. Hello everyone. We will be back with another story. If this is your first time hearing about my channel, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss new videos. You've read the title, so let's dive in. Look, my M38 brother Aaron is extremely smart when it comes to academics, but can be a bit dim when it comes to relationships. I'm not mad at him for this and I don't want to hurt him, but Heather, F27, is a master manipulator behind her pretty face. What hurts even more is that I was the one who introduced them. Heather and I met through the Dungeons and Dragons group and kept in touch after the group disbanded. She met Aaron at my birthday party and they secretly dated for a year before announcing it to her friends and me. They got engaged at my next birthday party and he asked me to be his best woman as we had always been very close. However, Heather frowned and said that was ridiculous. Instead, I should be her maid of honor since we are friends and I am a woman. The situation became awkward and I said I was happy to take sides because it was their day, not mine. In retrospect, I should have seen the red flags. There were many signs that Heather was more trouble than she was worth, even if she were covered in diamonds. But my brother was deliriously happy, and I guess I rolled a natural one on insight. The short list of issues? Heather assumed the maid of honor was also the wedding planner, the bride's point of contact, a free makeup artist, and would pay for the bridesmaid dresses and the bachelorette party. I compromised by agreeing to do her makeup for free. I did some modeling in my 20s, so I knew my way around makeup, and I helped plan the wedding with her and my brother. However, I couldn't afford to pay for the dresses she wanted. I agreed to pay for my dress but not the others, and I couldn't afford the party either. I offered to do one or the other, and she chose the dresses, the more expensive ones. I paid for it without complaint. She had all the bridesmaids, except for me, cover the cost of the entire bachelorette trip, even those who couldn't attend, but blasted me in the group chat for not contributing financially. Things like that kept happening. I need to pause here to mention that my brother is a senior engineer at a major tech company and teaches programming at a top school, so he earns a significant salary. When I asked him why he wasn't helping to pay for wedding expenses, he looked puzzled and asked what I meant. I quickly realized I'd stepped into something and changed the subject. Aaron explained that Heather insisted on paying for her half of the wedding so she could tell people she wasn't marrying him for his money. In hindsight, I know I messed up by asking, but there's more, and I don't want this to turn into a novel. So, let's jump to the part where I might be morally off track. I hosted a bridesmaid planning party at my house as Heather requested. We were working on wedding odds and ends, drinking a lot of wine, when one of the bridesmaids, Amber F20, asked if she could change her hair color. Her own wedding was coming up, and she had a long-awaited salon appointment to dye her hair red. For reference, I am black and wear my hair in crimson-red twists. Amber mentioned that she wanted a shade similar to mine because it complemented her skin tone. Heather chuckled at that and gave me a weird look. Heather then said that it was fine, and she's not a bridezilla, but she would prefer if only one of us looked that tacky. I was hurt. Heather knew me before I went red a year ago and had told me how great I looked. Now I'm tacky? I asked her if she meant it that way, and she shrugged, saying it's about the people, not how good they look. The other girls started chiming in, and Heather said, "Oh my God, calm down. I didn't mean anything by it. I won't let OP ruin my wedding entirely. It's really okay. We're all going to look different in our 30s anyway." I was the oldest of all the girls there, so I tried to laugh it off, mentioning how Heather used to compliment how young I still looked, especially when I did some fashion modeling. Heather snorted, saying something like, "You can't do runway now, and you know it." At this point, I asked her outright if she had something to say to me. Heather responded by saying that since I'd been so sensitive about her asking me to do things like wedding planning and paying for the party, she didn't want to bring it up, but she wanted me to change my look back to when you were so pretty like when we met, which meant going back to my natural light brown hair, losing weight, I'm 5 feet 7 inches and 120 pounds, and wearing shapewear to fit into a smaller dress. Then she pointed out the other bridesmaids and said it would mean a lot to her if we all looked our best up there. I told her that was hurtful and I liked how I looked now. I had struggled with body issues in my 20s, skipped meals, drank too much, and hated my body. Now I have curves and I love them. I even offered to wear a wig for the wedding if my hair color was an issue, but Heather just got quiet and changed the subject. I excused myself to get more wine from the kitchen, trying to keep everyone from seeing how upset I was. Heather followed me after a couple of minutes and tried to say, "You know I love you no matter how you look, babe," but I shot back, "But I look tacky?" She shrugged and said that's why she didn't want to ask me to change because she knew I'd focus on it as a slight. I handed her the new wine bottle and stepped outside to calm down, but it was still on my mind. The wedding is this summer and I'm kicking myself for being so sensitive. It's messing with my head. Now I can't even imagine standing up in front of everyone we know in a bright dress as the maid of honor, with the dress being a different color and cut than the other bridesmaids. I'm torn between letting her get under my skin or standing my ground. I don't want to be the maid of honor anymore, but I don't know how to explain this to my brother. Sorry for the nerdy references, it's a coping mechanism. Edit, a few details I didn't think to add. My brother has a prenup. It wasn't really about trust, but more about refuting rumors that Heather was marrying him for his money. She enthusiastically agreed to it. She doesn't have a full-time job, works retail, and does some theater work. She lives with her sister and her sister's spouse because she's still in school. My brother and I don't have any other family. We've been each other's only family since I came out as bisexual and our grandfather disowned me. Aaron went no contact with our grandfather out of support for me. We're not biological siblings. Aaron was adopted, and I was a miracle baby. Our dad walked out when I was a kid, and our mom passed away when I was a teen. TLDR, my former friend and future SIL thinks I look tacky and need to lose weight, so I don't feel comfortable being maid of honor or being in the pictures. Comments, Buttered Crumpet 09. You do get that she wants you as maid of honor so you won't spend that time with your brother, right? OP, I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense. I've barely had time to spend with my brother and only get to occasionally text him. My brother is great, but I worry that if I even try to explain, he'll get defensive. He's really the only family I have left. BD10D 528. Heather is gaslighting you. She's making mean comments and then acting like you're overreacting. NTA for wanting to step down, but know that she'll make you the villain regardless of what you decide. If you step down, she'll say she knew you would flake and planning was harder because you misled them, while also making nasty comments about how she's glad not to have someone like that at the wedding party. Also, 120 pounds at 5 feet 7 inches is slim, so she can shove it about wanting you at your modeling weight. OP, when I was in my 20s I was underweight. It was unhealthy and I will never go back to that. I don't want to ever go back to that. I was an unhappy person vying for a goal that wasn't good for me mentally or physically. Heather knew that, which is why it hurt more than if a stranger said it. Fooster Clucker, personally, I wouldn't go. Tell your brother exactly why and what he's marrying. You can go to his next wedding instead. Instill Dink, Heather is a total B. You are NTA either way you go, she's going to make things miserable. Personally, I'd want out of the wedding party and would likely try never to speak to her again or the rest of the friend group. TBH, she was horribly rude to both you and the other friend who wanted to change her hair color, and no one called her out. Everyone just sat there and took that abuse. Ouch. If you go that route, I'd suggest a simple message to your brother explaining that you're sorry, but due to some extremely hurtful things that Heather has said, you just can't be in the wedding party. I'm sure she'll still talk crap about you to him, but at least you'd have given him a heads up. OP, the other girls did try to speak up, but Heather shut them down quickly. Some even texted me after apologizing for what happened. One backed Heather, but that's the only bridesmaid who isn't somehow a mutual acquaintance or friend of ours and is Heather's BFF. She has hated me from the beginning because I'm the maid of honor instead of her. Ren 1 made it. Honestly, you should all quit. What's the downside to bailing on this loony? She can't do jack if you all quit, but you know this wedding shouldn't happen to begin with. Work on that. OP, actually, she comes from money and they can make things unpleasant. Her dad is also a raging racist. I am African American, and he didn't like Aaron since he's from outside our country. Update, my brother knows everything now. 6 hours later, I got comments saying the same thing, that I would be the AH if I didn't tell my brother the truth. It was devastating, and I admit some of the comments were worded in a way that really hurt. But at the end of the day, I was asked if I was okay with Aaron marrying someone who would hurt him, and something clicked in my brain. I love my brother more than anything, and I realized I was being spineless and selfish for not coming to him with this. Since becoming the maid of honor, Heather monopolized my time. I can pinpoint exact moments when I was slowly pushed out of regular contact with Aaron. If I wasn't working or doing my side gigs, all my time was spent on the phone with her or footing the bill at dinners and lunches. Someone mentioned she was trying to keep me and Aaron from spending time together, and I realized they were right. Anytime I called him and she was there, she'd take the phone to talk about wedding stuff. I'd be so worn out at the end of my days that I wouldn't even reply to texts. I feel so stupid. I was a coward, so afraid of losing my only family that I forgot to be family to him. That's hard to even type, but it's true. Aaron called me early this morning. Apparently, a bridesmaid who was at my house, Sophia, F26, who is one of our good friends, suggested he reach out to me, but when he asked why, she didn't say. I didn't realize it, but I've been miserable since that party at my house. I didn't know how much I seemed off, but it was brought to my attention how far out I seemed in public and how withdrawn I've been in general. Aaron called and asked if I was alright. I know the wedding is stressful, and Heather has been a wreck, but I snapped and just started crying and hung up. He was at my place within the hour and I told him everything. I don't remember seeing him so mad in my life. I'm skipping a bunch to be brief, but he asked me how much I spent on the wedding, and I just handed him my phone with my bank app and the bridesmaid chat all open. He scrolled and asked me why I hadn't mentioned this to him. I explained, and he shook his head, wrapped me in a hug, told me not to worry, and ordered us food. After he left, Sophia texted me and Aaron in a new group chat with the three of us some recordings from when she was making TikToks at various bridesmaid events with Heather in the background. I saw it and Aaron saw it, but he hasn't said anything yet, other than telling me to turn off my phone if I can. He said he'd drop by tonight. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and sat on my couch drinking, waiting. Quick random update, I'm a bottle of wine in, so forgive my dyslexia. I'm scrolling through Reddit and Facebook, and Heather has blocked me on Facebook and through an app for my texts. I can see she's texted me many times. I've opened nothing and I won't until Aaron arrives. In the meantime, I'm in good tears over your support and advice. I was never a strong person, that was our mom, but you and my friends make me feel strong, and I cannot express my gratitude. I will update when I can, but it may be tomorrow, as I'm passing that line of tipsy into more than tipsy, but seriously, thank you all so much. Second update, my Venmo popped up and Heather's sister Haley just sent me money with no description, just a bride emoji. Aaron says he's on the way. As I'm on Facebook, I'm seeing more of the girls in the bridal party in different chats having issues with Heather. I'm more of an Instagram and Twitter gal, so I never even saw it. I'm messaging them back now. Comments, alien false flag, it's time for your brother to call off this **** show. Okay, consideration 1284, I suspect he is. Snoop, it's 873. Sophia is the real one. Update, background info 1 day later. Star date, the next morning. Y'all encouraged my nerdy side, sorry lol. Happy weekend, everyone. I was shook at how much my notifications blew up, more than the Death Star. Bear with me as I sort through everything because it's a lot, and I had a lot of wine last night while stressing, and today, I am slightly paying for that. First, some background that came up in the comments. Some of you called it, but yes, I suffered from an abusive relationship myself. He doesn't even deserve a nerdy fun name, so we'll just call him Jeff. Jeff was emotionally and physically harmful to me, encouraged my dieting in my 20s, constantly called me fat, etc., and that was him being nice. Whenever I tried to leave, he would either intimidate me, gaslight me, or both. The short of it is Aaron finally figured out what was happening as I had gone so low contact with him, and let's just say you wouldn't like Aaron when he's angry. Jeff is so far in my rearview that one would think he's a mirage. Also, I finally watched all the recordings Sophia sent Aaron and me. They are just snippets she never posted due to lighting, noise, or something being said that she didn't want on the internet, but with Heather somewhere in it or heard in the background. Not all of it was her hurling insults at me, as some were from outings I could not attend, and she put down others. I mentioned before that Sophia is close to both Aaron and me, that we have sibling-like love for one another, and that Sophia is gay. One video is just Sophia holding her phone down as Heather explains why Sophia's girlfriend can't be at the wedding. You guessed it, Heather checked the homophobe box. She just hit bigot bingo. I am so embarrassed that I ever thought she was my friend. Many other videos were Heather's put-downs to me. Sophia even managed to get the tacky convo from the point after Heather called me tacky the first time on. There's much more to add. I will give another update on what happened last night. Update, ding dong, the witch is dead. By the time Aaron got back to my place, I was less tipsy and more wine drunk. He looked at me and said I needed to lay off the celestial absinthe D&D joke. He looked exhausted. I apologized as I felt I had imploded his life, and he snapped at me with something like, "Don't you dare apologize for telling me the truth, ever," and went on about how hurt he was that I never told him about any of it. I apologized, and he reminded me of Jeff and how bad things could have gone if he hadn't figured out what Jeff was doing to me. I suffered in silence, and things could have escalated, and he could have lost me. I'm all he has, and he would never have forgiven me or himself. I told him he was right, and from now on, there will be no lies or secrets between us. He made me pinky swear like we did when we were kids. He then told me what happened. He got to his house and listened to every single one of the recordings. He had sent himself items and screenshots from my phone, including all the payments he could find for what I spent, and calculated everything. He wrote me a check and the total is staggering. I don't know if everyone is like this, but sometimes it's hard to keep a running tally on a specific expense over time if you just spend a little here and a little there over a year. But let's just say the check will replenish my lost savings and then some. He then called Heather over under the guise of wanting to have dinner with her. When she arrived, he was sitting in his living room acting casual. He was recording the whole conversation on his computer nearby, where he teaches tech, so the audio was perfect when he played it back to me, except for when Heather was moving about his house, doing things here and there in other rooms as she talked to him. But he stayed on the couch by the desk. He was casual and asked about the wedding planning. She lamented how much there was to do but how excited she was. He asked about me, "How is Francesca doing? I haven't been able to catch up with her." Heather said something about how she's trying to coach me on being a maid of honor, but that it's fine because she just wants him to be happy and have his adoptive sister in the wedding. Aaron and I never used the word adoptive. He's simply my brother, adopted or not. I never knew she used that term when I wasn't around. I can't quite pin it down as to why, but there's nothing wrong with him being adopted or anything, it just didn't sit well with me. He kept it chill, asking her questions he already knew the answers to, and she clearly lied to him. He brought up the money and suggested he should contribute since he does make more and wouldn't mind. That's when the big lies happened. She claimed to have worked many shifts and saved a lot of money to pay for her half, then blamed me for the super expensive bridesmaid dresses, claiming I made a big deal about not looking my best in the much more affordable dresses she had wanted, etc., but made it out like she compromised by yielding to what I wanted, even though it was more expensive. I'm making this really short, but she made me out to be this diva, implying how I must talk him into buying me expensive things, and that the bachelorette was going to be her biggest expense because I'm a city girl and wouldn't stand for a small dinner, which is what Heather wanted. Absolute Wookie poo-poo, but whatever. Aaron toyed around a little longer before saying, "Hey, you should come listen to this," and started playing some of the videos. You can hear Heather saying things like, "Who is that? That sounds like me, but that's not me," but he kept playing them until she just said, "What is this about?" He said he knew the truth and was giving her a chance to tell him the truth. She pretended she didn't know what he meant, and Aaron just said, "Allow me to be very clear. I know you've been lying to me, so tell me the truth." She started crying and asking why he was doing this to her and what she did to deserve this. He got angry, stating that lying wasn't even the worst thing about how she treated me, his sister, and Heather's supposed friend. A lot was said between them, but he never raised his voice, and at one point, she was screaming, and he said, "I won't even speak to you if you're just going to yell." They argued more, and he told her to get out and that the wedding was off. He said he expects her to pay me and him back for all the expenses, or he will take her to court. As she was crying, he called her sister Haley to tell her that Heather was on her way back home and laid out everything so Haley knew exactly why they were calling it off. The recording ends there, but according to Aaron, he put Heather's things in her sister's car for her. Yes, I am petty specific about Heather not owning a car, and locked her out. She stayed at the door crying for a minute and then left. Aaron says he took a moment to cool down when the drama started back up. Out of all the bridesmaids, only one was singularly Heather's and not a mutual friend of ours or Aaron's. Kim hated me from the very beginning because she is Heather's true best friend and should have been the maid of honor, but made up some crap that I threw a fit because I wasn't important at the wedding, so after long suffering, Heather bent a knee and made me the maid of honor. Kim called Aaron and yelled at him that Heather was at her house, heartbroken and depressed because the other girls had lied to him to make her look bad. Heather is willing to forgive him and take him back, but he needs to acknowledge the truth. She said Heather would only get mean to defend herself from us ganging up on her, and that Kim witnessed it firsthand. She told him I was the worst one and would make snide remarks to Heather about taking my brother away from me and how now I was alone and had no one. She implied something else that I won't repeat here because it's disgusting, but a Luke and Space Mom if you know, you know. Then she said that Heather is also pregnant and that the stress cannot be good for her or the baby. Aaron said that he was almost considering talking to Heather and seeing things from her perspective because he was dumb and did think he had loved her, but it was the last parts that snapped him out of it. He said if Heather perceived she was being attacked, he almost felt bad, but he also knew me well enough to know that I'm far too non-confrontational. Then when she brought up the baby, he told Kim that this was impossible as Heather's rule was no intercourse until marriage, and he respected that. But now Kim and Heather are claiming that he was drunk one night and that he and Heather did the deed and must not remember as he was practically passed out for most of it. I won't even begin to touch that here, but I have never felt angrier in my life. Aaron doubts this as he has never been so drunk that he would forget things, and on top of that, why would she keep it a secret from him after the fact? There's more to it, but those are the cliff notes. It was late and Sophia couldn't come over, so we FaceTimed her to thank her. She and her girlfriend were eager to hear what happened, and Aaron told the whole thing over again. Her girlfriend Letty told Aaron to immediately demand a medical confirmation of pregnancy and a paternity test, as well as have Heather pin down the when and where. She reminded Aaron that he has cameras all over his home and in the main rooms, so this can be easily disproven, but to also tread carefully because she can see a mile away that if Aaron refuses to be conned by that Medusa, she will try to spin it making him an aggressor. She is pre-law, and her dad is an attorney, so Aaron will call him today and speak to Heather only through his attorney going forward. We also opened some of Heather's texts to me together and screenshotted each one. But I was sleepy because of the wine and fell asleep. When I woke up, Aaron was on my tablet still reading and screenshotting, and he seemed oddly chipper. I asked what's up, and he informed me that Heather's sister Haley reached out and will be going to the doctor with Heather to see if Heather is really pregnant, but Haley is doubtful as she never mentioned it nor has Haley noticed any signs. It seems Haley is on his side and over her s******. He also wants to thank Sophia and the other bridesmaids for helping us and is thinking about keeping the venue and just having a party in place of the wedding, but he isn't sure. Honestly, I don't think he slept and he looks awful, so I cancelled all my plans, and I'm going to make sure he rests and takes care of himself. Nothing has been decided, but he now sees how manipulative Heather can be. I know he is heartbroken, but he's putting on a face for everyone. I know far too well that eventually, he will need to mourn the relationship, and I am determined to be here when he does. I think that's everything for now. I wanted to share with everyone who has been so supportive of us, even if it meant kicking me in the pants to get me to be honest with my brother. To my fellow browncoats and rebels, thanks for helping me feel a part of a broader nerdom. It feels awesome. TLDR wedding's off. The GU was defeated, but she won't let him go.